to increase, then I soon will be able to read 4 books a month. In today's video, I'm of course only going to be reviewing the 3 books that I actually read. The 4th book that I started, I only got to about page 100 before May began, so I'm going to be reviewing it as part of my May books, because it's a super thick book as well. It's like 500 and something pages, which is why I thought it was a good thing to start it early, just to get a jump on it. The first book that I read in April was actually the 5th and final book in a series that I love, and that was Winter from the Lunar Chronicles. I say 5th book, but I guess it's the 4th book, but technically the 5th book if you include Ferris, which is the novella, which I include Ferris because I really liked Ferris, even though it was like this thick. So for those of you who might not know, the Lunar Chronicles is a fantasy sci-fi retelling of fairy tales mixed together in a very unique way that you can just not guess at. But it starts with Cinder, who is Cinderella, but she is a cyborg, so you know Cinderella loses her glass slipper, well Cinda loses her foot. And then there's also Scarlet, who is a Red Riding Hood retelling, and she meets somebody called Wolf, you know, the big bad wolf, and they have their story. And then there's Cress, who is Rapunzel, but Cress is not just locked in a tower, you know, with long luscious hair, but she's actually locked in a space station. And then finally there is Winter, who is a Snow White retelling, and it's just all kinds of awesomeness, and of course all these 4 fairy tale retellings merged together in an epic fantasy sci-fi adventure, which I absolutely love. I'm pleased to say that Winter was definitely a nice conclusive end to the series, and I'm gonna miss all the characters so much, but I had such great adventures with them, and I'm very pleased with what Marissa Mayer did to end off this series and just give us a send-off. Goodbye, my love. Goodbye, my friend. You have been the one. You have been the one for me. Goodbye, my love. Goodbye, my friend. You have been the one. You have been the one for me. The second book I read was a first in a series, so I started something new, and that was Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. I've had this on my shelf for about 2 years or so. So finally I read it. It's had some hype about it. I heard in the past, you know, there was something about it's a racist book and all these things. I honestly did not see it, and actually after reading it I was like, really? What? Huh? So I went and I explored this whole thing, and it turns out it was just like one person's review that somehow went viral, but then was quickly shut down because not many people agreed with it, and I don't agree with it either because no. It's also set in space, so I read a lot of sci-fi fantasy this month, and it follows Kyra and Akos in what happens when Thuv and Shotet people get together and try and, you know, go with the current and save the world and have rebellions and all these great things. There was a lot of action-packed scenes, there was a lot of new introductory, wonderful imagining things, planets and rituals. I liked all the characters in this book. I found them very believable, very relatable, and I'm really looking forward to reading, what is it called? The Fates Divide, which is the sequel that apparently came out earlier in April, I think, or early end of March, I'm not sure, but it's out, so I'm looking forward to getting that for myself very soon when I go and buy Court of Frost and Starlight, which I will be doing probably not this weekend because I got a birthday, but probably the weekend after, and I'm so excited to have a Court of Frost and Starlight in my hand. The third and final book that I read in April was The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman. Now, I actually borrowed this book from my friend, and I ridiculously gave it back the other day because I was seeing him and I was like, oh, I might as well just give him the book, but of course I forgot that I could use it for the video, so image here. The Subtle Knife is the sequel to The Northern Lights, which, as you may know, is the Golden Compass series, the books that the Golden Compass movies are based off of. So The Northern Lights was book 1, I really enjoyed it. However, I didn't enjoy The Subtle Knife as much as I enjoyed The Northern Lights. I found it a bit repetitious at points. I felt like the first half was telling me the story, but the second half was retelling me the story. I think possibly because it was from so many perspectives. I think there were 4 perspectives in The Subtle Knife, and the first part was great. Oh, 5 perspectives. 4 or 5 perspectives, and basically the first part the story was going and lots of stuff was happening. 6 perspectives. I think it's actually 6 perspectives, but the 6th perspective is just like 1 or 2 chapters for us to learn something, and then that person is dead. But yeah, so a lot of perspectives, and in the beginning you're finding out a lot of information, you're seeing different things from their points of views, but then it felt like the second half of the book, when they kind of all rejoin, they're all telling their stories, because obviously we, the reader, knows, but the character in the book doesn't know. So for instance, there is a girl called Penelope. There's not a girl called Penelope, I'm just giving an example. Say there's a girl called Penelope and a boy called Roger, and basically we watch Penelope have her story and adventure, and we watch Roger have his story and adventure, and then finally Roger and Penelope meet, but then it's like, oh my god, what happened to you? And then Penelope spends a long time explaining what happened to her, even though us as the reader experienced it with her, and then Roger explains what happened to him, again, even though the reader read it with Roger. So I felt like a lot of it could have been, you know, like, oh my gosh, how did you get here? And then we end scene. In terms of star rating, I think I give The Subtle Knife about a 3.75 to 4 stars. I give Carve the Mark a 4.5 to 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. And I give Winter a whopping 5 stars. And that is all for the books I munched in April. Have you read any of those books? Have you started Carve the Mark? Have you gone on to Fate's Divide? Have you read the Golden Compass series, the Northern Lights series by Philip Pullman? Have you read the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Mayer? What did you think? What book do you want? Have you finished the whole thing? Let me know your thoughts down below, and if you like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and if you like all my other videos that I do, then please consider subscribing. And until next time, I'll see you. Bye!